Illinois state lawmakers still set to get a raise, though it's not as large as maybe they wanted, as the governor did in the reduction veto of the state budget as he signed it yesterday. It's the most expensive state budget for taxpayers in state history, spends on a whole host of things, increased funding for education, K through 12 and higher education, but it also spends on undocumented migrant health care and even more money for Chicago for undocumented migrant housing. Of course, this was a contentious issue. Democrats have the supermajority in both chambers. They had a scheduled adjournment date of May 19th. They blasted through that, and then they blasted through yet another deadline they gave themselves of Friday, and they passed it in the early morning hours of Saturday before they adjourned at the tail end of last month before the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Now, what's all in this? Of course, it's thousands of pages of line item spending. Again, higher education, K through 12. You've got construction money. You've got grants for nonprofits. You've got money that's going to be going out through Medicaid, how to operate state agencies, from all the constitutional officers to, all of the various state police and so on. You should go down the line, all of these agencies getting state tax dollars, your tax dollars. You've also got an increase in the amount of local government distributive fund dollars for local governments. They wanted 10% of all of the income tax the state collects, as was the agreement back in the 60s whenever the state implemented the income tax. They wanted to keep local governments from being able to implement a local income tax on top of a state income tax. So the state said, hey, we'll give you 10% of all the income tax that we collect. Well, that's decades ago was reduced, at one point down to like 5%. Local governments wanted to back up to 10%, but it only went up from like 6.2 to about 6.5% in this budget. But you've also got nearly $1 out of every $5 of every dollar the state takes in going to the state's pensions. So it's a big budget, a big budget. Here's some of the highlights from yesterday's signing ceremony with Governor J.B. Pritzker. You'll hear Senate President Don Harmon. You'll also hear House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, as well as the lead House sponsor and the negotiator here, Peoria Democratic State Representative Gian Gordon Booth, during yesterday's signing ceremony in Chicago. Here is how the governor got a standing ovation as he took to the podium to talk about the budget priorities.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I know that this standing O was for the budget and not for the governor, but I thank you so much, really.
Getting to this point has been an exercise in trust, working together to prioritize paying down debt, shoring up our rainy day fund, and ensuring a durable, balanced budget.
In this budget, we're helping the homeless. We're helping those that are food insecure. We're helping our youth. We're helping the elderly. We're helping the disabled. In this budget, no one is being left behind. I can go on and on about the smart investment and compassionate choices we're making in this budget.
That, frankly, ensures that our colleges and universities don't have to continue to hike up the per-hour tuition on so many of our students, which is critical for the advancement of the state of Illinois. And so these kind of cradle-to-grave investments are so important, but I wear orange today to stand in solidarity with every mother, every father, every community in the entire state of Illinois in honor of Gun Violence Awareness Month. What we know...
Yeah, interesting phrase there, and I'm curious what you guys think about that. You can always call in at 217-629-7970. From cradle to grave, is that something you think that taxpayers are looking for when it comes to how government treats taxpayers, taking them from cradle to grave? Again, that was a statement from Peoria Democratic State Representative Gian Gordon Booth. Your thoughts on that sentiment? Cradle to grave, she says. But the budget includes includes a whole host of things, right? You've got taxpayer money for undocumented migrants who are here in the country either on asylum or other reasons, and they are essentially getting subsidized health care. Governor J.B. Pritzker talked about this in some detail. Here's what he had to say about the undocumented migrant health care that's going to cost taxpayers hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
So let me begin by saying that there are two different populations that were, you're referring to one, which is undocumented immigrants. And then we have what some people refer to as migrants or asylum seekers, totally different population. Those people are here, they're documented. They're here legally in the United States. We have undocumented people who are in need of health care, and that's what that program is designed to address. And I'll talk about that. I just want to make sure we're talking separately, because sometimes, not you, but sometimes people conflate the two. So in February, we took a hard look at that program and saw that the continuing number of people who are signing up for that program was rising at a very rapid rate, more rapidly than people anticipated when the program was put in place. And so we had to take another look at our estimates of costs based upon that rapid increase and the amount of services that were being used in each of the cohort groups from 42 to 55, 55 to 65, and 65 and over. And make sure that we understood what the cost really was going to be. So this idea that we were spending $1.1 billion and that now we're going to have to cut the program in half, not accurate. We were estimating going forward what the program is going to cost in FY24 if we didn't make sure that we were managing it properly. And we needed some tools in order to do that. So we went to the legislature to ask them for those tools. I had already put $220 million into the budget to cover that program. Remember, we save money when we invest in health care for undocumented immigrants, because you know what happens if they don't get health care, basic health care? They end up in an emergency room, and we all end up paying for that at a much higher cost than if we have preventative care and regular care for people.
So Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about the undocumented migrant health care costing taxpayers, saying he's going to have the tools to try to manage this. But obviously that's a priority that some push back on, including Mike Marin, who is a Republican from Fithian. He talks about how this is about priorities, and the budgets really are a reflection of priorities. We'll hear about that. We'll hear from former State Representative Jeannie Ives about nonprofits getting funding and how there needs to be more oversight there. But also, you've got the lawmakers getting a pay raise in this budget. Not as the 5.5% that they gave themselves, but 5%. So we'll talk about that as well coming back here with Springfield's Morning. Talking about the state budget, Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted yesterday, and it includes hundreds of millions of dollars and the governor's ability to manage a program giving tax dollars to undocumented migrants in the state's health care. So that obviously is going to be a big cost for taxpayers. State Representative Mike Marin pushed back on this. He talked about how it seems to be priorities are a little out of whack, he suggests, because, well, there's taxpayers in Illinois that should be getting similar types of treatment.
I think an amount of money that the Democrats have understated fairly significantly is going to undocumented immigrants, and I think it's a problem. I think they have mixed up priorities.
And another issue is the lawmaker pay. Now, Governor Pritzker did issue a reduction veto of the budget concerning lawmaker pay. He took it from 5.5% increase to just 5% increase. He didn't nix the whole thing altogether. No, he just put it up to 5%. There's still a question, though, and I got to get to the bottom of this. Does it still violate the state constitution because lawmakers gave themselves in the current General Assembly a pay raise? From my reading, just the plain language of the Constitution for Illinois, I don't know if that's possible, but I'll see if I can get to the bottom of that. But Marin talks about those pay raises, and it's problematic to him.
Necessary. It sends the wrong message at the wrong time. People are struggling with inflation. They're paying higher amounts of money for gasoline, for energy, for food, for medicine. And here we are. We're just so out of touch.
Another element of the budget, a lot of money going out to nonprofit organizations, and former state representative Jeannie Ives with breakthrough ideas. She raised issue with a line item of $300,000 going to Black Lives Matter Lake County, even though the leader has pleaded guilty to felony battery charges multiple times. She says that it's not the first time the group's received funding from the state of Illinois for tax dollars.
All of 2021, he's out on bond for battery to a police officer, and yet Governor Pritzker gives him $300,000 in COVID relief money. Nobody checks his background. Nobody checks out the organization.
And she says that this grant is just the tip of the iceberg.
Black Lives Matter Lake County, a Marxist organization. They don't deserve taxpayer money. What do they do? And I'll tell you what, there's millions of dollars spent on violence prevention programs that need to be investigated as well.
And if you recall, during Pat Quinn's administration, there was the Neighborhood Recovery Initiative with hundreds of millions of dollars going out, or tens of millions, I should say, and hundreds of thousands of questionable spending with some politically connected individuals and high salaries and a whole host of things. Another thing that the budget does not include is the Invest in Kids Act, and that is a measure that Governor J.B. Pritzker still says that he believes is going to be dealt with during fall veto session.
You know, I can't speak to the decisions that were made across the General Assembly about it. It's obviously a program that's been around for a number of years now.
And he says it could come up during fall veto session, so we'll see what happens there. It is Springfield's Morning News, and now you know at least some of how your money's going to be spent.
From the Fly SPI Studios, take the easy